All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. And per usual, my fellow council members will be joining me through video conferencing. I have our city attorney, Tracy Noonan, and our city manager, Drew Powers, 8 feet apart from me. So we're going to forego the mass this evening. If I could all have you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. May I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Engler,
Present.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena,
Present.
Mayor Adam.
And I'm here as well. Well, good evening, fellow council members, and to the residents of Thousand Oaks. We'll start out with our COVID update. I think we have a little bit of good news this evening, don't we, Mr. Powers?
Yes, Mayor Adam. I think as most are aware, the County of Ventura moved last week into the next tier. We were in the highest tier, and now we're in the next lowest tier of reopening. And that was because of all the good work that's been done by county residents in bringing our numbers and case rate down. Today, in fact, they're only reporting 15 new cases countywide. And that's with over 1,700 people tested. So the case rate, positivity rate, all those various metrics are trending in the right direction right now. The county could be eligible within a couple weeks to move to the next tier should these numbers continue to improve. That said, it's important with reopenings to recognize that there is going to be a likelihood of additional exposure. The county's planning for that. They still have robust testing volume. That's a key component that allows us to receive credit to move into these various additional sectors in the state's tiers system. And there is a penalty when the numbers go back up. And last week we saw 2 counties for the first time move back up into greater phases of closing. So it's important that we all still remain diligent. It is certainly been a long haul, and we're all tired. But I think we're beginning to see some light, hopefully, at the end of the tunnel as we move closer into 2021 and the potential of various therapies and treatments and vaccines. So with that, we also have the county is having one of their regular press conferences tomorrow. It will be held in Thousand Oaks at the Oaks Mall, 1 p.m. tomorrow. I've been asked by the county CEO, Mike Powers, to join him as part of that press conference to talk a little bit about some of the efforts that we've undertaken here locally from a business support standpoint and to encourage residents to shop locally. I'll be joined by Danielle Borja from the Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce as well. As Julia Ladd, I think, will be there from the Oaks Mall. So that'll be 1 p.m. tomorrow, press conference with the County of Ventura.
All right, thank you, Mr. Powers, and thank you to the residents of Thousand Oaks for staying resolute and for observing the guidelines. Your efforts are starting to pay off as we move through the tiers and return to some semblance of normalcy. All right, next we're going to have a presentation that details some of the great programs that our Conejo-Reckon Park District has to offer in partnership with the City of Thousand Oaks. And with that in mind, I'd like to welcome the Global Adult Community Center Director Patty Ham, Coordinator Mike McAdam, Conejo Senior Volunteer Program Director Julie Spivak, and from the Alex Fiore Teen Center Director Sarah Daub and Coordinator Jay Dodwell. They'll be joining us with video conference.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and staff. My name is Mike McAdam. I'm the Recreation Coordinator for the Global Adult Community Center. I'm here with Julie Spivak, the Director of the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, and Sarah Dobb, the Teen Services Director. Next slide, please. The City of Thousand Oaks and Conejo Recreation Park District have a long-standing history of providing the residents of Thousand Oaks with high-quality community services, recreation programming, and all designed to enrich the quality of life in the Conejo Valley. Next slide, please. The Global Adult Community Center has been providing community with outstanding senior services, programming, and all designed to enrich the quality of life of seniors in this community for the last 29 years out of this location. Next slide. Above and beyond programs and events are the social services we provide our seniors, some of which include blood pressure checks, hearing workshops, on-site senior advocates, veteran services, will preparation, and many, many, many more. Next slide, please. Some of our day-to-day programs include art, badminton, bingo, of course, dance, language, support groups, table tennis, writing, and there's so many more, it's hard to list all of them in one place. Next slide, please. And of course, we cannot make any of this happen without all of our partners. The City of Thousand Oaks, Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, the Global Senior Center Commission, Senior Concerns, Ventura County Area Agents on Aging, just to name a few. And there are so many more. It truly would not work without everyone pulling together to make all of this happen. Next slide, please. So here's just a quick snapshot in a year in the life at Global Community Center. In just 1 year, we served just shy of 104,000 people in over 5,800 programs and events. Next slide. Now I'd like to introduce to you the Director of the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, Julie Spivak.
Thank you, Mike. The Conejo Senior Volunteer Program helps place adults age 55 plus at 75 partner agencies in and around the Conejo Valley. CSVP has close to 1,000 volunteers who serve approximately 180,000 hours per year. During the 2018-2019 year, 169 volunteers served 34,000 hours with the City of Thousand Oaks. These hours were served at Pacific Arts Plaza, the Council on Aging, the Disaster Assistance Response Team, the Thousand Oaks and Newbury Park Library, and the volunteers in policing. According to Independent Sector, the total value of these volunteer hours equals $865,000. Next slide, please. CSVP volunteers make thousands of handmade items per year, including stroke aprons, mastectomy bags, Afghans, and hats, which are donated to partner agencies, including Los Robles Hospital, Mary Health of the Sick, James Storehouse, School on Wheels, America Supporting Americans, and more. During COVID, they have utilized their artistic talent and have made over 3,000 handmade masks, which have been donated to 26 local organizations. Next slide, please. The Conejo Senior Volunteer Program's free income tax program is in cooperation with the IRS and is in its 30th year. This typically takes place at Conejo Creek South Community Building and the Newbury Park Library from February through April. 45 volunteers serve over 5,300 hours during tax season and prepared 2,311 free tax returns in 2019, bringing over $1 million back to our community. Volunteers had completed 1,100 tax returns by March 12th of 2020 when we had to suspend the program. We were very happy to be able to reopen this service at the Global Center for 23 days from June 15th through July 15th, following strict CDC guidelines. Tax preparers were able to complete 700 more free income tax returns during this time. Many local seniors expressed that this was the first time that they had been out of their house since March and how relieved they were that we were able to reopen the program. Next slide, please. CSVP oversees the Senior Nutrition Lunch Program, SNP, which typically takes place at the Goble Adult Community Center Monday through Friday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This grant-funded program through Ventura County Area Agency on Aging is for seniors 60 plus. Lunch is a $3 donation, and no one is turned away for inability to pay. The Goble Cafe creates an engaging, safe space for seniors and socialization. Our lunch program generally includes 32 volunteers serving over 2,300 hours per year. In 2018-19, the SMP served 13,046 meals. And from July 1st, 2019 to March 12th, 2020, we served 9,538 meals. When COVID began, we changed the congregate meal program to a pickup delivery program, which takes place Monday through Friday from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Goble Center. From March 13th through September 31st, CRPG staff has served 22,982 meals. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. Now I would like to introduce Teen Services Director, Sarah Daub.
Good evening. The City of Thousand Oaks and Conejo Recreation and Park District's unique collaboration leads to a very successful facility to serve teens in the Conejo Valley that are at least 12 years old and in the 7th grade, but not older than age 17. As you might recently remember, in the fall of 2019, the Thousand Oaks Teen Center celebrated its 30th anniversary, where we also unveiled the plans of a new capital improvement project for the center to get a new backyard area, featuring a lighted outdoor basketball court, amphitheater, and a skate plaza. Although the project has been postponed due to COVID, we can't wait to see it back on the calendar for construction. Also recently remodeled was a 9-station computer lab and a gaming wall. The funding provided by the city allows the Teen Center to operate 7 days a week with extended hours on non-school days and in the summer months. We are able to provide our community teens the cool and current trending equipment and programming. We have a video to show you the facility and all the awesome things that we provide year-round. Next slide, please. There is volume on this next slide with the video.
Mama said, don't give up, it's a little complicated, all tied up, no more love, and I'd hate to see you waiting. Had to have high hopes for a living, shooting for the stars, but I couldn't make a killing. Didn't have a time, but I always had a vision, always had high hopes. Had to have high hopes for a living, didn't know how, but I always had a feeling I was gonna be that one in a million. Always had high hopes. Mama said, something for oddities, stranger cruises. Ain't never wanna be the winning the novelties that don't ever change. We wanted everything, wanted everything. Stay up on that rise, stay up on that rise, never come down. Oh, stay up on that rise, stay up on that rise, never come down. Mama said, don't give up, it's a little complicated, all tied up, no more love, and I'd hate to see you waiting. They say it's all been done, but they haven't seen the best of me. So I got one more run, and it's gonna be a sight to see. Had to have high hopes for a
Next slide, please. This concludes our presentation. In closing, we would like to thank the city for all the support and allowing us to serve our community. We are looking forward to reopening our facilities to the community, but we'll continue to serve how we can in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Conejo Rec and Park provides such valuable services to our community. I know my daughters loved, when they were in middle school, loved the teen center because they could meet kids from all over Thousand Oaks, not just their school, but kids from all over, all different socioeconomic classes. And so it was just a good social organization for them. And of course, the Global Adult Center is a great socialization area as well. Councilmember Jones was on the Conejo Rec and Park District for many years. We thank you for that service, Ed.
Thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, I think you would agree that it's one of the best attributes of our city is the Conejo Rec and Park District. All right, we're going to move on now to our public comments. And if you would announce that, please, Ms. Rodriguez.
This is a time and place for public comments for those wishing to address the City Council regarding items on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Under state law, public comment matters may not be considered by the council unless listed on the agenda, but may be referred to the city manager for administrative follow-up. 5 individuals have requested to speak, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. All right, first up, I believe we have Christopher Bout. Christopher? And we don't. Let us move on then to Sue Soy. If you're ready, Sue.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. My name is Sue Soy, and I am a resident of Thousand Oaks, and I'm proud to say that I'm a member of the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library. And it is my pleasure to invite you to join the Friends in celebrating National Friends of Libraries Week next week, October 18th through the 24th. The Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library would like to report to you that we are busier than ever during these COVID times. Of course, our job is to provide financial support that allows the library to enhance its services and programming. Each year, we try to provide in the area of $150,000 to our Thousand Oaks libraries. With these funds, the library is able to develop more online programming, so necessary today for all ages in our community, and to purchase more materials. We fund electronic resources, the databases that offer homework support to our young people, provide job resources, and also authoritative information that I know many small businesses use. We also fund the electronic books that are so very much appreciated in the community. And our volunteers are doing community outreach right now, providing used books to Safe Passage Youth Program, Adelante Comunidad, and Westminster Clinic, as well as Conejo Recreation and Parks District's programs. We provide about $10,000 for aquarium maintenance for that 3,600-gallon saltwater aquarium that we enjoy so much. I'm told the fish miss us, but they're doing well. Right now, you and the community can help the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library continue to enhance services by becoming members of the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library, volunteering time and expertise to the Friends, and donating used books and money to the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library. You can connect with us by contacting our president, Dick Pierneau, at president@ftol.org, and he can direct you to whatever activities or donations you might like to make. The Friends consider the Thousand Oaks Library to be essential in our community for a robust recovery as we move out of these COVID times, and we are very happy to provide support. We want to thank you and your fabulous library staff for all your work to maintain excellent quality of life in our community. We are more than happy to provide our support.
Thank you, Sue, for that great report. Adam Haverstock.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Adam Haverstock. I am the Director of Government Affairs and Tourism at the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce with a couple items for you tonight. First and foremost, the Chamber of Commerce held a candidates forum last week. We had CVUSD Board of Trustees candidates on Wednesday evening, and we had Thousand Oaks City Council candidates on Thursday evening. We did so in partnership with the Acorn newspaper. We are very happy to have every candidate for the Board of Trustees and for the Thousand Oaks City Council participate in our virtual forum. And since he's on the call tonight, I'll say thank you to Mayor Adam, who is one of the candidates who was there as well. So thank you for your participation. We are very happy to have everyone involved. We think it's great to have a forum for voters to see where the candidates stand on issues of importance to residents. And there's copies of the candidates forum. It was done online, and so people can watch it. It's still online, copies of the video at the Chamber's Facebook page and at the Chamber's YouTube channel. So all you have to do is search for Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce on Facebook or YouTube to find it. Second thing I wanted to mention is that Visit Conejo Valley, your tourism district, is currently in the process of producing virtual tour videos for all of the Thousand Oaks hotels. These are going to include footage generally of the Conejo Valley, of outdoor spaces, of things to do. And then also it's going to include footage specific to each hotel, meeting rooms, guest rooms, the front lobby, signage, things like that. And we think this is going to be a great way for our properties to communicate how safe and clean our hotels are. And then also it will assist sales staff in bringing additional business to Thousand Oaks hotels. I wanted to mention briefly the Chamber's Foundation, which has distributed over $68,000 in microgrants through the Conejo Valley Small Business Relief Fund, including a big contribution from the City of Thousand Oaks. Thank you for that. We are still soliciting donations for the Small Business Relief Fund, and we hope to have given out over $100,000 by the end of the year. And then finally, I will finish with a mention. Actually, the city manager mentioned the press conference that's happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. in Thousand Oaks. We're very excited that the county is going to shine a light on our city, and help us promote Thousand Oaks a little bit. Our president and CEO, Daniel Borgia, will be speaking, of course, along with City Manager Powers and the county CEO. And we're happy to have them shining a spotlight on the city. And unless there are any questions, that does conclude my comments this evening.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you to the Chamber for sponsoring the candidate forum. Next up, Dr. Karen Martin.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for your opportunity to speak to you about the heliport expansion. In the noise ordinance of 2000, this council agreed that as hospital air traffic increased, the impact on residents should be evaluated. Unfortunately, the noise impact study prepared by Meridian Consultants for Los Robles Hospital is lacking in several integral components. In fact, the initial study was amended prior to the administrative hearing because the extrapolated data on the Firehawk's noise profile had not been included. The Planning Commission is telling us they're approving the project because the number of flights will remain constant. Yet that number isn't included in the report. When I pressed the panel for the number of flights per month currently, 2 people with the city and 1 with Los Robles told me the number was 5 per month. When the project went before the Planning Commission, I presented my own study. I live in the western flight path. Over the 3-month average, it was 9 per month. In rebuttal, planning now claims it's 3 to 4 per week. A true number has yet to be verified, and this is concerning because the number affects the baseline noise level, or CNEL, on which the level of mitigation is determined. While I was waiting for this, I got another email from the hospital because I'm asking for the formula for how the baseline was determined, because these numbers should be in there and people should know this number. And I got a 1-line response, which was, yes, 3 to 4 per week. Thank you. Have a good day. My study revealed that only 20% of the flights into Los Robles are from the Ventura County Sheriff. The majority of flights, 70%, are from Mercy and Reach Air. There is no reference to the composition of their fleet. So, okay, we're being told by the county sheriff that they will only use the Firehawks in extreme emergencies. Aren't all airlift situations emergencies? We're told there will be no increase in vibration, another statement with no factual basis. In order to evaluate vibration, a C-weighted study must be done. It was not. Why even present this study? As a veterinarian, I understand the need for emergency care quickly. That is not up for debate. What is questionable is why the Planning Commission is giving this study merit. It's my understanding the City Council needs to vote on the project so Caltrans will authorize the permit. I am asking you, no, I'm begging you, that you will require a study that truly represents the impact of helicopter traffic currently is having on the surrounding community so we may move forward with facts. And the people in this neighborhood deserve it. We deserve traffic control. People in Westlake deserve some help there. You cannot keep cutting the police and looking at these projects and giving them a pass. You can't. You have to help us. Please give me some of that extraordinary care you keep telling us we're going to get. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Gus Gress is next. Gus will not be with us. All right, thank you. And that does conclude our public comments for the evening. So let us move on to the consent calendar. I actually would like to pull 7F and 7G. Any polls from anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Jones.
Yes, I'd like to talk a little bit about item L.
All right, 7L. All right, making a motion on the balance of the consent calendar, please.
Also moved.
All right, we have a motion. We vote, please.
Councilmember Engler?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Adam?
Yes. Why don't you go ahead first, Councilmember Jones, with 7L.
Yeah, for some reason, voting seems to have become a controversial issue in our society today. For whatever reason, we've never had any problems that I know of in Ventura County. But I would like to ask whomever is the proper party a little bit about the fact that we're making two new places open at the Kavli Theater and the Newbury Park Library. Could we have a little bit more discussion of that, please?
Councilmember Jones, yes. So the Kavli Theater will be a in-person polling center beginning October 31st and will run through Election Day. The other location at the library is a drop-off center, and that started October 5th and will run through Election Day. And those hours are, the hours at the Kavli will be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the drop-off centers are a little bit later time, and I believe they close at 7 p.m. during that time. But on Election Day, they will be open the same amount of time, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Will the drop-off centers be at those two sites that you're mentioning?
The drop-off center will only be at the library. At the Kavli, it will only be in-person voting beginning on October 31st and concluding on Election Day, November 3rd.
And one last question, if I may, and this probably doesn't concern you, but I've heard that people not authorized have been locating drop-off boxes in different parts of California. Have we had any experience, or do we know of any attempts to do that in Thousand Oaks?
Not that I am aware of. The Secretary of State has issued a memo to all county election officials, which the city clerks were also copied on. With it does detail instructions on how to report any of those unofficial ballot boxes directly to the county official and the Secretary of State. The county has assured us, county elections, that they will immediately respond to those complaints. And just from past practices, I do know that in previous elections that were conducted all vote by mail years ago in Santa Barbara. I think some HOAs and centers sometimes don't realize, so it's just misinformation, so they immediately remedy the problem. But I do know that the county is going to respond immediately to those. They do have a group of staff members that are assigned to respond immediately to any of those reports.
And finally, please just clarify for me what drop boxes are available then in Thousand Oaks and where they are located.
So we have 6 drop-off locations within the city of Thousand Oaks, and we have 9 polling centers. Those immediate locations, exact locations, are available on our website. Our communications staff member, Alexandra South, has done an excellent job in posting those on our website. You can look at a map, and it's interactive. You can click on a location that's near your home, and it'll direct you to the closest polling center or drop-off center.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. I can tell you from my own experience, I use the drop box here at City Hall, and it is clearly marked, very secure, and bolted to the ground. And a lot of people were using it when I got there, so I think you can feel very safe in depositing your ballots there.
Do you have any advice on who to vote for city council?
I'll pass on that, thank you.
Mayor, if I could just put a plug to help out our county elections. They do an excellent job for the city, and if I could just encourage people to vote, and if they've voted their ballot, to drop it off as soon as possible. That gives them plenty of time to process those ballots. I know that they have a lot of staff there ready to go ahead and start processing and getting those the signatures verified and prepping for election day to count those ballots.
Wise words. Vote early this time around. All right, and I pulled a couple items. I think here in, I'm sorry, what? Oh, sorry. I think here in Thousand Oaks, we all want to walk more and ride our bikes more. And the city is definitely addressing that in a big way on these 2 items that I pulled. The city will be creating sidewalks and bike paths that will directly link the city of Westlake to central Thousand Oaks. And they're going to do that from Hampshire Road down Willow. That's that little road that runs parallel to the freeway, underneath the freeway, past the Civic Arts Plaza, past Conejo Elementary, all the way to Hillcrest. Sidewalks the whole way and bike lanes. I mean, that's very significant. That's going to link that whole area. It's going to be a complete street. And then we're going to build sidewalks and bike paths from our transit center on Rancho, which we get a lot of use of, and that will run all the way down Rancho Road to Thousand Oaks Boulevard. So there'll be a connection there as well. And I think that's significant. It's just one more way that we're trying to have people maybe get out of their cars and walk a little and bike a little, and we just want to make that as easy as possible. So you'll see those improvements coming, and I hope that you'll use them. And now I guess I'll need a motion on the items that Councilmember Jones and myself pulled. I guess I could make that motion, couldn't I? Yes, why don't I do that? If it's all right with you, Councilmember Jones, I'll move 7F, G, and L. And we'll vote, please.
Councilmember Engler?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill Dela Pena?
Yes.
And Mayor Adam?
And that's yes for me as well.
And Mayor, the entire consent calendar passed 4-0.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a public hearing tonight on single-use disposable plastics ordinance that we've been working on. And if you'd open that hearing, please, Ms. Rodriguez.
Hearing advertised as required by law is open to consider agenda item 8A regarding single-use disposable plastics ordinance. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. One individual has presented a speaker card, and pursuant to council standards, each speaker will have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Let us start with Dr. Cox, our sustainability manager. She'll give us the report this evening. Good evening, Dr. Cox.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. So I'm here this evening to present a proposed single-use disposal plastics ordinance that would restrict the distribution and use of polystyrene in the city. In September last year, staff presented an update on one of Council's priority items, our Sustainability Strategic Plan, which is now being developed as the city's climate and environmental plan. At the meeting, Council expressed an interest in tackling growing environmental concern over pollution from single-use plastics and asked whether this was an issue that could be addressed in the city's climate action plan. Staff began work on this earlier this year and is now coming back to you with a proposed ordinance. Plastics are incredibly useful and versatile, but they come with some unfortunate side effects. The properties that make them so durable and resilient also mean that they're very difficult to break down and can take hundreds of years to decompose. Plastic litter can be washed into streams and ultimately to the ocean. Expanded polystyrene, also known as styrofoam, is particularly problematic as it easily disintegrates into small pieces that can be carried by the wind. In the ocean, plastics can entrap marine creatures and be mistaken by them as food, leading to sickness and death. Following Council's directive in September 2019, staff developed a plan to address the environmental problem while minimizing the impact on businesses. Following the recommendation of other successful jurisdictions, staff formed a stakeholder group comprising local business representatives and interested organizations and invited participants to a series of 5 meetings to examine the issues. Stakeholders represent multiple sectors impacted: small and large restaurants, cafeterias for employees and the public, takeout service, and members of the public. We also invited some of the fast food chains like McDonald's and Burger King to participate, but these organizations declined as they've already addressed their packaging. Between April and September, a series of virtual meetings were held with presentations and conversations with industry experts. Stakeholders heard from representatives from Surfrider Foundation, the recycling industry, composting operations, and a foodware distributor. The group also reviewed and discussed ordinances from several other California cities. Some take-homes from those meetings included a lesson on what is currently recycled at the materials recovery facilities used by our haulers, which is numbers 1 and 2 plastics, which are the most readily recycled. Numbers 3 through 5 are recovered, but their ultimate fate is market-driven. And number 6, shown here, PS for polystyrene, is the most problematic, as it cannot be recycled and therefore winds up being landfilled. At one of the meetings, we also heard from a food waste distributor who shared samples of environmentally preferred alternative products that have minimal cost impacts to food services. Dozens of other California cities have already implemented bans or partial bans on single-use plastics. Nearly all of these pertain to polystyrene or expanded polystyrene foam. Some also address plastic bags and plastic straws. Some ordinances mandate certain replacements, including recyclables and/or compostables. Although in the long term, compostable substitutes are the most desirable, current composting facilities used by our haulers are not able to compost fiber-based alternatives due to the time it takes those materials to decompose, which is generally in excess of the 90 days that most facilities allow. The proposed ordinance, therefore, does not mandate such replacements, but staff recommends that the ordinance be reviewed 2 years after implementation to reconsider this, as the county's local organics processing capability is expected to expand. Based on the information received and discussed by the group, stakeholders were polled on which elements to include in the proposed ordinance. They overwhelmingly supported the measures as proposed here. The ordinance would ban the use and retail sales of expanded polystyrene and rigid polystyrene food and drink containers and utensils. The retail sale of unencapsulated expanded polystyrene ice chests, beach toys, and loose packaging material, also known as peanuts, and would require that plastic straws and utensils be provided only on request rather than being automatically distributed with food when dining in. The proposed ordinance will go into effect at the same time as our new waste hauler agreement and new state recycling and organics mandate, known as SB 1383. This will allow sufficient time for outreach to affected businesses on all items concurrently, and also time for the development and distribution of outreach materials, an extensive education program, which would include in-person site visits to businesses as needed. It'll also allow for businesses to revise their contracts with suppliers as necessary. That concludes staff's presentation. The recommendations are in the staff report. Thank you. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. And I do want to thank Dr. Cox and John Brooks, our sustainability experts, in their help to crafting this ordinance. And I want to thank the stakeholders as well. We had some very eminent people involved with this: California Lutheran University, Mouthful Eatery, the Cheesecake Factory, Amgen, Los Robles Hospital, people that really had a stake in this, and they participated. And by the time we were done, we had 100% consensus on this ordinance. And I'm sure you can see why this is a threat to our environment. These materials never go away. They just break down into smaller and smaller particles till finally they're at microplastics, and they're just everywhere. They're in our oceans, our rivers, they're in animals, they're in us, for that matter. They say 2,000 particles a week work themselves into our systems, human beings. So this is something Thousand Oaks can do, and we are well known for our environmental efforts, and this is one more way that we can help our environment. Questions from my fellow council members?
Mayor Adam?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to commend staff on bringing together all the stakeholders and, as you said, obtain unanimous approval of this. This to me is a no-brainer, and this is the direction that many countries are taking, including China. So I'm glad that we were able to find unanimous consent, and thank you to staff for all the work that they put into this. So I really appreciate that. And maybe we can work on electric leaf blowers next.
That wouldn't be bad. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Jones.
Yeah, I wonder if I could ask Dr. Cox if she would explain a little bit more about the climate and environmental action plan, about not lengthy, but just a little sort of an overview of what that encompasses and what the timing is for the completion of that task.
Sure. So we have started work on that already. There are many different elements to it, some of which are ongoing and some of which are yet to be developed. But we also kicked off our meeting at the last GPAC Sustainability Community Meeting, which was in September. So we also have a survey. We have over 750 responses to that climate action survey from residents. It's still open. You can find it on our webpage. So the plan would address both mitigation of the greenhouse gases that are responsible for climate change, and also some adaptation measures in the city, and also some other environmental issues, such as the one that we've just discussed, or we're discussing here, that not necessarily have large impacts on our greenhouse gas emissions, but are environmental concerns for the city. So the timeline is that the plan will be developed over the next year in parallel with the general plan update, and they would be very closely aligned so that policies that were necessary were included in the general plan sustainability update, and the practices and the action plan for implementing those would be part of the climate and environmental action plan.
Do we have a pretty good freedom to operate here? I mean, has the field been preempted at all by state or federal rules or guidelines that ties our hands, or do we have pretty much ability to do what we would like to do?
So we can make whatever plans we like. The state has come out with goals, targets that their plans are around doing a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Actually, I'm trying to think whether that's been updated, but originally it was 40%, and then 80% by 2050. So one of the things we can do is we can choose to align with those state targets. That's not a mandate from the state. Every city does not have to meet that mandate. We can set our own, but most cities that have climate action plans do align them with the state's goals. So we can align our policies and plans with that, or we can try to be more aggressive. But in general, most cities align with what the state is trying to do.
Well, then are you saying we could be more restricted than the state, or do we have to just align with the state or be less restricted?
We can go either way, because it's not a state mandate that the city has to meet certain targets. The city sets its own targets. But as I said, in general, most cities try to align with the state. These are targets we would set. They're not obligations. But obviously, once we set a target, our plan needs to align with meeting that goal that we've set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. Any further questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Engler.
Yes, and I wanted to thank Dr. Cox and her team for this very important study that they have done and working to show us perhaps a good way to go. And I also remember you personally, Mr. Mayor, when we discussed this about a year ago, really pushing to get this done and bringing a little show and tell of the different plastics and everything that you were talking about. And I think you've been a driving force behind this. So I want to thank you as well. Just a couple of questions. Will this assist us at all in maybe doing some of our solid waste diversion targets that we need to meet as well?
So waste would be one of the elements of our climate and environmental action plan, and we're trying to address most of those issues through the new waste hauler agreement that will come into place in the beginning of 2022. And a lot of that is around the organics disposal and recycling collection and recycling of organics. So that will be a new program that will help with the GHG emissions reductions. And in fact, that state law is designed specifically to reduce the GHG methane emissions from organics that are currently decomposing in the landfill, but instead will be collected and either composted or used in a digester where the emissions are collected and used as a fuel.
And the biocompostable, I hammered that word, that those items are currently not compostable. What is the hang up there? And is it something around the corner, or is it if businesses were to invest in something that was compostable, perhaps they would need to know a time frame when that would be fruitful?
Yes, ideally we would like to have businesses use the compostable containers, the fiber-based ones. Unfortunately, we don't have a method to process those by composting, but we're hoping that by 2022 or very soon after that, there would be some mechanism. We have to wait to see what the facilities, the infrastructure that is installed within the county. There's a couple of proposals right now for new infrastructure. So once those facilities are constructed, then it would give us better alternatives. And once we have alternatives for doing that, we can revisit and hopefully be able to compost any fiber-based containers.
And then final question is, you mentioned that the products to replace styrofoam would be somewhat affordable for our business community. Can you give me a feel for the range that would be an affordability percentage?
So the foodware distributor that we did talk to said there are a lot of alternatives that are very cost competitive with current, with styrofoam, you know, paper, for example, paper plates or plastic recyclable. We're expecting that the cost impact on materials alone would be less than a 15% increase on, as I said, on just the material cost. And if businesses experience a higher cost impact than that, or something that they feel is something more than what they can bear with their business, then they can apply to the city for a waiver, and that would be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you, and I do appreciate, it seems like a well-thought-out plan, and I really appreciate the fact that you did a stakeholders committee that helped come up with some of these proposals. Thousand Oaks won't be able to completely cure this problem, but I think perhaps we can nudge it in the right direction if we go with this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Engler. Yeah, I'd like to think that this is just one more step in the long process that Thousand Oaks has been through to protect our environment. You mentioned composting, Dr. Cox. If I recall, the composting situation we have now is rather distant from the city. We'd like to see something a little closer, wouldn't we?
Yes, that's true. Currently, our composting materials go up to, well, there's some processing at Agraman, but most of our organic waste currently goes up to Kern County. So, and that's where a lot of the state's composting facilities are, actually. But we're hoping to get something sited within the county within the next few years.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great. And maybe Agraman will expand their operations as well. I visited an Agraman. They have quite an operation. It's amazing what they can make from waste. Just really the recyclability and the composting is fabulous. Well, I just think this is just one more way that Thousand Oaks is trying to help our environment, whether it's greenhouse gases, whether it's getting rid of rodenticides. We have a Hill Canyon treatment plant that's 100% self-sufficient. We protect our trees. Our fleet is mostly electric and hydrogen, and I'm very happy to see that we've taken this step as well. So and I do believe we have a public comment. Do we not?
Yes. We do, yes.
All right. And
Hi,
it's Clint. Hello,
yes.
Clint.
How you doing? My name is Clint, and I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks. And I would like to commend the city of Thousand Oaks for introducing this single-use disposables ordinance. And I'd like to address plastics specifically. Simply put, single-use plastics are goods that are made primarily from fossil fuel-based chemicals and are meant to be disposed of right after use, often in mere minutes. So according to the EPA, less than 10% of all plastic in production actually gets recycled. 300 million tons of plastic waste is produced each year around the world. And according to the Surfrider Foundation, each year, 13 million tons of plastic from the U.S. enters marine waters. Most of it starts out on land as litter on our beaches, our streets, sidewalks, and is then swept into storm drains, creeks, streams, and rivers that lead to the ocean. Oil companies are currently investing in the production of plastics as more and more people are switching to electric vehicles and using energy produced from renewables such as solar and wind power. The Center for International Environmental Law's report found that in 2019, the production and incineration of plastic added more than 850 million metric tons of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, equal to the emissions from 189 500 megawatt coal-fired power plants. At present rates, these greenhouse gas emissions from the plastic life cycle threaten the ability of the global community to meet our carbon emissions targets. Our use of plastics at this rate is completely unsustainable if we want a livable planet. So the single-use disposable ordinance introduced by the city of Thousand Oaks is a cutting-edge ordinance that will ultimately, I think, improve the lives of every citizen of Thousand Oaks. So I'd just like to say thank you for introducing the ordinance, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Clint. And actually, since you mentioned it, we did have a member from Surfrider come and testify at one of our meetings, and he was the Southern California Regional Representative, and he made a very compelling case about the threat to our oceans and how important that this is. All right, I'm going to, if there's no further questions or discussion, I'm going to close the hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move
Councilmember
the
Jones.
ordinance by title only, further reading be waived, and if no objection, it be introduced.
All right, thank you very much. And if we could have a vote, please.
Councilmember Engler,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena,
Yes.
Mayor Adam,
Yes.
and Mayor, that motion carries 4-0, and I do have an ordinance title to read, and it's ordinance amending Title 6 and adding Chapter 6 to Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, prohibiting use, distribution, and sale of designated polystyrene products, and limiting distribution of plastic utensils and beverage straws.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. And by the way, we'll give everybody plenty of lead time to gear up to comply with this ordinance. All right.
Mayor Adam, as she's departing the dais here and we're switching up, I just wanted to acknowledge Dr. Cox and John Brooks from her team. Just absolutely did a phenomenal job over the course of the last year working with stakeholders and driving this forward. So I just want to make sure to acknowledge both of them. Tremendous efforts to get to this place.
Here, here.
Absolutely. Good work from both of you in responding to what is 90% of the community behind this type of action. Thank you. All right, let us move on to our study session. This is Water and Wastewater Connection Fee Update Study Session, and Sherry Johnson, our Revenue Operations Manager, is going to conduct that. Good evening, Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor Adam, City Council members. This discussion is for our Water and Wastewater Connection Fees Study Update. This report details the methodology used as a basis for those fees and recommends adjustments to those amounts. Joining me on the dais is our Public Works Director, Cliff Finley. For your consideration and approval this evening is the Connection Fee Study Update, as well as a request to set a public hearing later this month to discuss proposed rate adjustments, which would go into effect January 1st of 2021. This study was prepared by Raftellus Financial Consultants. This is the same firm that performs our city's biennial utility financial plan update, which serves as the basis for our utility rates. As a reminder, connection fees are one-time fees paid to a utility for connecting to its system. The purpose of the 2020 connection fee study is to update the 2013 study, as well as to provide the basis for the methodology used in setting those connection fees. The city assesses and updates connection fees annually and performs a more comprehensive connection fee study at least every 10 years to ensure that our connection fees accurately reflect any changes in the water and wastewater system asset basis. Let's take a closer look at water connection fees. Currently, the city provides potable water to approximately 40% of the citizens we serve, which is just over 17,000 connections. A recent snapshot of our water connection fee history shows marginal increases. The largest shift was a result of the 2013 connection fee study, which reset connection fees using a system buy-in approach and was based on the assumption that the city's water system was nearly built out. This type of approach is used when the methodology for calculating the cost of new development, buying into the value of the existing system, is based on the premise that new customers should receive service at the same price as existing customers and should pay only an amount equal to the impact of their additional connection to the system. Since 2013, the fee was adjusted for inflation. The proposed 2021 connection fee is $8,215. The formula we use for annual inflation adjustments uses the Construction Cost Index for Los Angeles. The proposed decrease is due to actual inflationary effects on the water system. The chart you see here shows how the proposed water connection fee compares to surrounding agencies. It is important to consider that other agencies' lower rates could be due to a variety of factors, including the pace of development, the size and age of their distribution system, and the status of ownership, such as private versus public. Moving on to wastewater, the city provides sewer service to approximately 87% of the city, which equates to over 38,000 connections. Similar to water connection fees, wastewater connection fee history shows marginal increases in recent years. The 2013 connection fee study drastically reset wastewater connection fees as a result of the system buy-in approach previously discussed. Since 2013, the fee has been adjusted for inflation. Now the proposed 2021 connection fee is $8,897. This increase to the wastewater connection fee is due to asset valuation. In recent years, the city has performed numerous maintenance and rehabilitation projects. An adjustment to this fee will ensure that new customers pay their fair share for connecting to the system, and that existing customers are not negatively impacted by these new connections. This translates to a $442 increase for new connections. The chart you see here shows the proposed wastewater connection fee and how it compares to surrounding agencies. To summarize, the 2020 connection fee study update ensures that growth pays for growth. Should council accept this fee study update and proposed fee adjustments, then a public hearing shall be scheduled for October 27th. Staff recommends that council approve the 2020 water and wastewater connection fee update study and set October 27th as the public hearing for the fee adoption. Staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Questions for Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I've got a quick question.
Councilmember Engler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the fees, it's something we hear about all the time. People don't like paying fees, but I understand this is really a pro rata fee based on a buy-in to the system that's already existing. So it's logical to me that this is the way we should go with it. My questions, I think, revolve around the projected growth we're going to see probably in the foreseeable future is more in terms of multi-residence as opposed to single-family residence. And can you go a little bit into how you gauge what a proper fee for a single-family residence as opposed to a multi-residence would be?
Sure. So the equity buy-in approach effectively takes into consideration the city's assets for that water system or wastewater system and evaluates it with the depreciation that's happened with that total asset valuation. It also considers all the quantity of connections for that system. And effectively, all of the connections that exist currently have paid for that infrastructure to be developed. So those new connections are buying into the value of that current asset-based system.
So then, is the amount charged for a single-family residence the same as for, say, a multifamily residence, or is there a lessening, or is it more expensive when you have a larger structure?
Good evening, Councilmember Anglo. This is Cliff Finley, the Public Works Director. The answer to your question is no. A single-family home pays a one rate connection fee, where an apartment would pay actually 75% of that. And the logic behind that is that a single-family home is likely to use and need more capacity than a single-unit apartment.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, hearing none. If I did my math right here, we're talking about 2 fees. For someone who wants to build a house or whatever, they need to be connected to the water system, and they need to be connected to our wastewater system. And if you factor in the reduction in our water connection fee with the increase in our wastewater fee, the net is $57, which works out to less than 1% increase overall for these services. And everybody's nodding their head, yes, that's right. So my math is correct. So essentially, it's nominal, the increase that we're talking about this evening. All right. Without any other questions or discussions, I suppose we can go for a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Jones.
I'll move the recommended action that the mayor get an A in math.
Thank you, Ed. All right, we have a motion. We have a vote, please.
Councilmember Engler?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Adam?
Yeah, and that's a yes for me.
And Mayor, that motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, Mayor Pro Tem, I believe you have an appointment to the Traffic Commission for us.
And I do. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We are now on item 11, and there was an unexpected vacancy on the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission. And this evening, I would like to put forth Mick Ferris to fill the unscheduled vacancy to serve an unexpired term that will end in December of 2022.
All right, thank you very much. And I can say, speaking for myself, that Mr. Ferris has a long history of service to the city, and I think that's an excellent appointment. And I believe we do need a vote on that, or we need a motion first.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
I'd be happy to move that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Engler on the appointment of Mr. Ferris to the Traffic Commission. May I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Engler?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill De La Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Adam?
Yes, for me.
And that motion carries 4-0.
All right, thank you, Claudia.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Let us go now to our city manager for follow-ups, announcements, and the like.
Thank you very much, Mayor Adam. Our next regular city council meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight on the 27th of October. We will have a couple special presentations, just our regular COVID update and an Arbor Day proclamation. Public hearings, we have a few. We have an appeal of a planning commission decision of an AT&T cell site on Amgen's campus that was appealed out of the planning commission after the planning commission's decision. We have the Los Robles Hospital helipad item that one of the public speakers mentioned earlier. As a reminder, that item is dealing with a modification to the existing helipad to accommodate the Sheriff Department's new helicopters. It's not a referendum on helicopter access to the hospital. The water and wastewater connection fee item, which we just heard, and department report on some temporary roadway modifications at Potrero Road and Briar Avenue regarding some work that our Public Works Department's been doing to address a problematic set of branches and issues with a large oak tree out there. That meeting, 27th of October.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Ms. Noonan, we have a closed session.
Yes, we do. We have one closed session tonight. It's pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. It is anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation.
All right, thank you very much. So we've reached the end of our meeting this evening, and I would like to adjourn our meeting for two wonderful individuals. The first is Brian Patrick Hetherington. We are journeying the memory of Brian. He was a member of the city family, working as a full-time employee for over 15 years. In 2005, he began his career with the City Public Works Department as an information technology technician in number 1, and then he was promoted to technician number 2 in 2007. His professional advancement continued throughout his tenure with the city, including classifications to senior technician and public works system analyst. Brian was a key member of the city's information technology division, where he was responsible for computerizing management structures and advancing computer applications that operate our water systems. He was well respected for his talents in systems analysis and problem-solving skills. In 2008, Brian received the Exceptional Service Award for his outstanding contribution to the city. He received his Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Science and Philosophy at the University of Santa Barbara. He was a certified novel engineer, and he held several other certificates related to computer science. Brian is survived by his father, Patrick, his mother, Marcia, brother, Gregory, sister, Jeanette, and dear friend, Rebecca. Brian will be deeply missed by his family, his many friends, and his city co-workers. And now I would also like to adjourn our meeting in memory of a very prominent community member, Marion Shillow, who passed away September 21st. Marion, through her leadership and Marion's thorough leadership and energy was an inspirational trailblazer, and she supported several community nonprofit organizations. She was married for 62 years to Frank Shillow. We all know Frank, a former Thousand Oaks City Council member, mayor, and Ventura County supervisor. And to Frank's election success, Marion was also always his campaign director. Marion moved to Thousand Oaks in 1971. She was a longtime president of the League of Women Voters of Ventura County. She was the Community Conscience campaign director for the Under One Roof project that constructed a single rent-free building housing together multiple service organizations. Marion and Frank supported MANA, the local food bank, by helping to buy its first permanent location back in 1984 for those who needed food. Marion and Frank also created and founded Many Mansions, an organization that provides housing for those in need, with Shillow Gardens being the first of many affordable communities. Marion's first job out of college was as a teacher. She loved running a library created out of her garage for neighborhood kids to get books and enjoy reading, as she did throughout her life. In retirement, Marion and Frank built a lake house on Travers Island in Wisconsin and spent many enjoyable summers there. We mourn Marion's passing and extend sincere condolences to her family, her many friends, and husband Frank. Marion and her smile will be greatly missed. Thank you, Marion. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we do remember the passing of these two wonderful individuals, and I would like to adjourn this meeting to our next meeting. I believe that's October 27th. Until then, be safe, be well, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.